All right, welcome back to the 2.4 version update comparison versus DPS. We're talking about Ganyu and Xiao, okay? So let's talk about these two characters who you should be wishing for if you're looking for a DPS character to wish for in 2.4. Should you be going for Xiao or should you be going for Ganyu? That's the question. Now, I want to start off by saying both of these characters are crazy high investment. Like, you have to put some time and work and blood and sweat and tears into these characters for them to start pumping out some damage. But they are both pretty much hyper carries. That's their goal. You hyper invest into them and they can just carry your team. But like I said, they are going to require some pretty high investment. So I just want to get that out of the way because that is a con for both of them. A con. It's to be expected, but it can be seen as a bad thing for some people. Let's start the conversation off with Xiao, mainly because that's the character that I have of the two. Ganyu, you will be home soon. Xiao, Conqueror of Demons, Vigilant, Yaksha, whatever you want to call him, he's a badass. I love my emo boy. I don't care if you do or not. I got him the first time around. I completely missed version 1.3 where we had Ganyu and Albedo, so I didn't get either of them the first time around. But I came back for Xiao because I saw early gameplay of Xiao like in the beta, and he like spawns this mask and he comes out and he's doing these plunging attacks and like things are just dying. It was so sick, dude. And he did not let me down. I have been using Xiao for a while. He's one of the mainstays in my Abyss teams. I have him sitting right now at a crit rate, crit damage of 71,165. And dude, he's got his weapon. He's got the Primordial Jadewing Spear. I don't even remember how I got this. I just got it and I was like, this is great. I think I got it when I was wishing for Xiao and I just got lucky. I'm not really sure. But regardless, this is one of my favorite characters in the game. He's super dope and he's just super fun to play. Like, he's a very different play style than 90% of the characters that we play with. He has a very different kit, which makes him super enjoyable to play for me. So first off, he has his dash attack, and I have both of these at level 9, so his skill damage is 430% on a dash. In a Bennett buff with a Zhongli shield, this thing can easily hit like 40-50k. It's crazy. It comes with 2 charges. If you get C1, if you're lucky enough to get C1, you get 3 charges, which is kind of why I'm contemplating going for Xiao C1, because that extra charge seems like really dope. But it's a ton of damage super fast. It is kind of a long cooldown at 10 seconds because you use it so fast. There's just so much damage in like a quick instant that you're sitting there going like, I wonder if I'm going to get my dash back anytime soon. So that is something to be aware of. C1 for him is pretty solid. Next is Bane of All Evil. So like I said, he channels his inner like Yaksha Demon Slayer vibes, puts on his mask, and then just starts getting his life drained. 2% of his health of his current HP is gone. No matter what health you're at, he will lose 30% of that HP throughout the duration of his ultimate. It's really sad. But in exchange, he does so much damage. Xiao can pump out an insane amount of damage. It is crazy. But he jumps up in the air, does plunging attacks. You basically can like alternate if you go all the way up in the air or like a little ways in the air, and it changes the damage. It's a whole thing, but look, it's crazy. It's so much fun. He does a lot of damage. He doesn't exactly dodge attacks. Like, it's kind of like Kazuha where he jumps up in the air. You're like, oh, he's going to be safe. He's up in the air. When you're up in the air, they're basically skeet shooting. If there's an enemy that shoots, you're dead. Maybe not dead, but you're hit. So after that brief, not so brief summary, let's talk about summoning for Xiao and some reasons that you might want to wish for Xiao. One, he is a main DPS. If you need another main DPS or you just need a straight up main DPS, Xiao is going to do so well for you. Keep in mind, he does need a sub DPS. He has to have somebody that can stay on the field for a little bit while he's waiting for his cooldowns, or you have to run him with a battery and make sure that he's never on cooldown and that he always has his ultimate ability up. Next, he is an Anemo character, which means that he can be paired with pretty much any element besides Geo and Dendro in the future, but he will be able to react with pretty much every single character that you put on your team. And last, he's hot. I mean, dude, he's our favorite emo boy. What do you mean? He's super dope. He's got an Oni mask. I dig that. I played Genji in Overwatch. What do you want from me? But now some of his downsides, and there's actually more of these than I realized there were. Like I said a second ago, you want to make sure that his ability is up all the time. Xiao is kind of useless unless you have his ultimate. You can switch to him, do a couple dashes, get some energy back on him, then switch off to somebody else. But then you're just waiting around until he gets his ability back while trying to make sure you have healing deployed so that he doesn't die. So he has a little bit of mechanics you got to play around, but once you kind of figure those out and you get in that groove, it feels so good, man. It's so fun. Next, like I said, he literally kills himself with his elemental burst. It takes 2% of whatever HP you're at per second. So he will lose 30% of his current HP during his burst. But like I said, while he's doing that, he's racking up some insane damage numbers on his end. Next up is going to be how he fits in team comps. He is not someone you can just slot in a team comp and then just use as a sub DPS or whatever. He is a main DPS. He needs to be focused on, he needs to be built around, which means you're going to need a healer, a battery, and preferably a shielder. He's a character that needs a lot of attention, but when you invest into him, he is super powerful. And the last thing is that he's not super free to play friendly. When it comes to weapons, if we're talking about Xiao, his best in slot is his primordial Jadewing Spear. That is his weapon. Now, when we're talking about free to play options, when we're talking about 4 stars, he doesn't really have many free to play options that are really work well. Like if you get lucky and get a Favonius Lance, sure, you can run him on that. Or if you want to run like a physical, don't run a physical Xiao, dear God. But pretty much outside of Xiao's normal weapon, I would recommend running him on either a death match, which is not a free to play option, it's a battle pass option, or run him on a white tassel, which is not very exciting and he won't do nearly as much damage because it's a 3-star weapon. But that's literally like that. Those are his options. He doesn't have much options to use. So kind of rough when it comes to like free to play friendly. But if you have a Staff of Homa, or if you have like a Skyward Spine or something along these lines, Staff of Homa and Jadewing Spear are both like neck and neck for how good they are on Xiao. So if you're lucky enough to have one of those on your account, absolutely he's an insane pull. I'm gonna stop gushing over Xiao. Let's talk about Ganyu, my Ice Queen, that will be coming home in phase 2 of 2.4. I've waited so long. Now, I don't have Ganyu, but it is a character that we can show off in the character archive, so this will work well. Ganyu is an insanely powerful main DPS or sub DPS, whichever way you want to run her. You can straight up stack her burst like crazy, make it super powerful, or you can focus a little bit more on her charge shot, which is how a lot of people tend to play her, just because it's crazy numbers for just a charge shot and it's a lot of fun. I got to play with her in like one event and I had fun. Anyway. So when we're talking about Ganyu's abilities, her normal attack is insane. Now, obviously I don't have her on my account, so I can't show you like actual leveled up numbers, but here's like kind of what you can expect. So she actually has a regular aim shot charge level 1, and then Frostflake arrow damage, and then Frostflake arrow bloom damage. So every time she hits with a Frostflake arrow, she does a metric shit ton of damage every single time. It's nuts. Next, her elemental skill, she has a taunt. It spawns a little cryo flower on the ground. It's beautiful. And then she like dashes away from it. Enemies get attracted to it and then it explodes after a little bit. Pretty solid ability. And finally, her celestial shower, her elemental burst, where she drops down like a massive AoE. There's ice shards coming out of the air and just exploding on enemies. It also seems to track them. And while you're inside, you get increased cryo damage. I think it's based on one of her abilities. Yeah, right there. The next great thing about Ganyu is that she is a cryo character, which means you can either run like the Morgana comp and straight up freeze everybody forever, or you can focus on like a melt Ganyu and just straight up nuke things. She has an insane amount of damage output, and she's pretty free to play friendly since you can use the prototype crescent on her that you can get from the blacksmith. All you have to do is put in some times and get a billet. But that weapon on her is super solid. Obviously, if you have something like Amos bow, it's going to be a little bit better, but at that point, we're just splitting hairs. Sorry, Ganyu. Next, some of the more depressing things I get to say about the character that I'll be wishing for in 2.4. Some of the reasons that you might want to skip Ganyu. I don't even know if that sentence was grammatically correct. Ganyu needs a pretty specific team comp. She's not as restricted as Xiao, kinda. She has a couple different team comps that she works really well in, but as a main DPS, you kind of do have to build around her. But as a sub DPS, you can pretty much slot her in anywhere, and she will bring value to your team, a ton of cryo damage, and make sure that everything on the field stays cryo afflicted, period. Wait, I thought these were bad things. Hold on, what happened? Yeah, if you're running her as a main DPS, she's pretty specific when it comes to like team comps. Sub DPS, not so bad. Next, she is super squishy. Ganyu pretty much needs a shielder to be used effectively. Otherwise, just a couple hits and she's down for the count. So a shielder, a good healer, or if you're running a freeze comp, maybe you don't have to worry about it as much. But if Ganyu is in any sort of danger, you want to make sure that you get her away from that because she cannot take the hit. And the last thing that is kind of a controversial one, which is why I saved it for last, is her gameplay. If you're playing her as a main DPS, she has a very slow, methodical way of playing where you're just sitting back with the charge shot, waiting for it to charge up to the charge shot 2, and then just shooting at enemies from afar. Pretty much if they get near you, you drop your taunt and then run away. Yeah. That's pretty much it. But yeah, there you go. This is kind of a longer recording. I might split this up into 2 videos, but that's all the characters that are going to be coming out in the 2.4 update. Let me know which characters you're going to be wishing for down in the comment section down below. Me, I'm 100% going for Ganyu, and I'm tempted to wish for C1 Xiao, might even wish for Shenhe. We're not sure yet. Let me know your thoughts. Maybe you can help me decide down in the comment section down below. Subscribe if you guys are new around here. Thank you so much to the members of the channel. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you guys, and we will see you soon. I love you.